Well, speaking of voting, today is the first day of no excuse early voting in the Show Me state. Missourians with disabilities face more challenges than the average voter when casting their ballots. Missouri law allows service animals, guardians, and assistants to be available for those voters when they do so. Nicole Noblet says the state should make accessible voting machines widely available. The Clay County, Missouri election judge has advocated for changes that help Missourians with disabilities.
In my county, they now use the accessible voting machines during municipal elections, which is not mandated, but it allows people to go to their regular polling need to go to. Says this equipment. I have also made sure that the accessible voting machines are in a visible location because many people will not ask to use this equipment if they don't see it.
Anyone who has a problem voting can call 866-OUR-VOTE to speak with a lawyer about voting rights. They also can file a grievance with Missouri's Secretary of State's office.